Welcome to Mid-Century Living, your weekly nostalgia podcast about the best of technology and culture from the mid-20th century.
Welcome to episode 41 of Mid-Century Living, the show where we talk all about the best of the mid-20th century and how to add vintage vibes to your modern life. We're your hosts, Jackie
and Gonzalo. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today we're talking about the Olympics, or rather the Olympics in the mid-century. But first, Jackie, how was your week?
My week was good. I'm gonna be so boring and talk about the weather.
The weather has been pretty weird.
We've had such a beautiful summer. Like, it's been in the 90s, like, all July.
Beautiful subjective.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year, I don't know, I think we made the national news, and I don't know how bad it was in Houston, but I think we hit a new record last year where it was like 4.5 straight weeks of 100-degree temperatures and no rain.
Yep.
So that's what, in my brain, summer feels like. So I've just been pleasantly surprised all July, and then now that we're in August, it's like the sky remembered it's August. And like all of a sudden it's so hot and terrible, and I know we just have one more month to go, and I'm so over it. Like I went for pretty much immediately from, oh, this has been such a lovely summer, I want to go outside and look at the birds, and to like, nope, everything's terrible, never go outside, drink too much, drink water, like it's and I can't wait for fall, and like I already can't wait for fall because it's pumpkin season, and maybe I'll talk about that in the next weekly catch up, but it's just like incredible how much summer sucks all of a sudden, and that's all that's going on in my life right now.
Yes.
How was your week?
Well, I also have words about the summer because we are recording this in the middle of teacher PD week, which is like the weeks before school start. So my summer is come to an end. And that's sad.
It is
because
sad.
Now, even though my body always woke up at 7 in the morning during the summer because that's what my body does, now I have to wake up early. Before it was a choice. Now I have to. And actually it has to be earlier because I have to be at school at 6. So I have to wake up early so I can get ready to be there before the students show up.
I know that being a teacher is really hard and that you're under a lot of pressure and you probably deserve that break, but I have a very hard time empathizing because I've been going to work every single day since I graduated college.
So, yes.
I haven't had a summer off since I graduated college, and I'm not going to have one until I retire. So you're fine. I think you're fine. I'm sorry you have to wake up again, but like some of us always have to wake up.
Teachers out there, you know how difficult it is. Not that our job is any harder than anybody else's job, because everyone who's an adult has a hard job, right? And they say like, do what you love and you'll never feel like you worked a day in your life. That's false. False facts, because I love what I do and I still feel like I work for the 11 months out of the year.
But like, anyway, yeah. I think it's awesome. I think anyway, I'm trying to encourage you to reframe and just feel grateful for the 3 months you had.
I feel I am every year I am very grateful to have weeks off in the summer where I don't have to do when I don't have like responsibilities. But for whatever reason, this year has been like starting the year has been harder this year because I'm teaching some content that I haven't taught before. So it's essentially like I'm a first year teacher again. So that's been tough because I want to just jump in and I can't just jump in because I don't have the lessons done. Anyway, sorry y'all teacher woes right here.
No, that's fine. I'm sure there are plenty of teachers who listen to the show who are just nodding in agreement like, oh yes, I've been there. This is good stuff.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think it's going to be a good year. I love my school. And so far, this past week has been, if long, because it felt like 3 months, it's been good.
Yay. Great. Well, now that we're all caught up, let's get on with the show.
Cool. Yes. So the Olympics ended last week or last weekend. Jackie, did you watch any of the Olympics at all this year?
No. I love the idea of the Olympics. Like, the whole world getting together to play games. I find that beautiful, but it is still not enough to get me to watch a sport. Though I did find out that there are some like really interesting sports in it. Maybe you'll get to that later, because I just assumed it was people running track and maybe gymnastics, and that was it. But there's like horse dancing.
There's
and
so much.
rock climbing, and
Yes.
like lots of interesting activities that I feel like, because I honestly think the last time I watched the Olympics was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe they'll catch the next one, but no, I didn't watch any of the Olympics. Did you watch a lot of it?
I watched. I don't know if I would say a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of gymnastics, because growing up, that was my sisters loved it. So like, if the Olympics were on, it was for that.
Right.
But shout out to Pommel Horse Guy, because that was like the funniest bit of internet related to the Olympics. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
I caught some memes that came from this year, and that's,
Yes.
but I haven't seen Pummel Horse Guy. I've seen the Turkish shooter guy.
No, the Turkish guy like walked in. I
He was
always
just wearing
say,
like a polo and like sunglasses or something.
yes, everyone always says that the Olympics should be like not professional, which by the way we'll learn that not always the case, but like it should be like random people get like a jury summons type letter that says you will be competing in dressage this year, like, and so it's completely amateurs, and that's what that guy looked. But anyway, yes, to answer it, make a long story short, yes, I did watch some. I like watching the swimming stuff.
So, real quick, listeners, in case you don't know, maybe we should say that the Olympics are a series of sporting events in which many countries participate. At these Olympics, it was 329 events in 32 sports.
Yes. Yes, I should have probably started with that instead of going into a rant about what I like watching. So just so we're all on the same page, it is summer 2024 when this episode is coming out. The Paris Olympics have just finished. So the mid-century games we'll cover are the summer games, really. And they're called Olympiads sometimes. They're called Olympiads because an Olympiad is a period of time of 4 years. That's what the word Olympiad is referring to. And it's kind of like a callback to like the ancient origins of the Olympic Games, which were held every 4 years in Olympia. And that 4-year interval between the games, aka the Olympiad, was how time was counted.
Got it.
Yeah. So like officially they're called the games of the blank Olympiad. So you put in the Olympiad that you're in.
Ah.
Yeah. So once it just ended, they are the games of the 33rd Olympiad.
Neat.
And that's because it is 132 years, which is 4 times 33, right? Since the first Olympics of the modern history era were held in 1892 in Athens. And the ancient Olympics, which is kind of like where all this started, a series of games that happened regardless of there being a war or not in Greece. From 776 BCE to 393 CE. And all free Greek males were allowed to take part, peasants, royals, etc., although most were soldiers.
That makes sense.
And again, this happened in Olympia, which is near Peloponnese, and lasted a full 5 days. What's up?
I do know one fun fact about the Olympics is that they all competed naked originally.
Yes. And though most people think that's a rumor, that is exactly how it happened. And they must have been brutal because, yes, they're all naked, but also competitors for like wrestling and pankration, which is like a boxing wrestling mix, were also covered in oil. And they had some really fun rules, like no biting or gouging were like the only rules in pankration. If you were guilty of a false start on a track competition, the penalty was corporal punishment. And sometimes athletes in combat sports died before they could surrender.
Yikes. Jeez, you were right. That is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. But that is the ancient Olympics. And we're obviously talking about modern Olympics within the mid-century. And to talk about that, we kind of have to talk a little bit about the International Olympic Committee, the IOC. And this is the organization that's, quote, the guardian of the Olympic Games. And they're basically the people who lead and organize each competition. And they were founded at the first Olympic Congress in Paris in 1894. And some of the mid-century milestones that they have are the Olympic Solidarity Program, which was created in 1962. And it is a program of the IOC aimed at providing assistance to all national Olympic committees for athlete development, especially those who need it most. So if you want your country to be in the Olympics, you establish a national Olympic committee. So what the Olympic Solidarity Program does is mostly things like financial and logistical help for athletes and coaches, as well as promoting the Olympic values. The IOC wants the Olympics to be accessible to all countries, and this was one way to do it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's like a really cool little bit of mid-century history that's when it happened. That's when it started.
Cool.
Yeah. The other thing, or I guess the other notable milestone in mid-century Olympics for the IOC is the creation of the IOC Medical Commission, which was created in 1967. And this is a program created in response to athletes dying due to drugs or doping. Originally tasked with setting up a medical testing service for the Olympic Games of 1968. But with time, the IOC Medical Commission has expanded to include doping and the biochemistry of sport, the biomechanics and physiology of sports, and sport medicine. So it's not just about making sure that athletes aren't using banned substances. And that's because today, in 2024, the study and work on doping, which is the use of sport enhancement drugs, has been given to the World Anti-Doping Agency, and the commission focuses on, quote, providing guiding reference for all other sport organizations on matters relating to the protection of the health of athletes. So
Yikes.
it's nice. It's something that it's very important now. Competing in a sporting event is not just about being physically able to do so, but doing it in a healthy way. And we have the IOC Medical Commission to thank for promoting that.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of brings us to the mid-century, but we should probably go back a little earlier to the beginning of the mid-century. So like Gonzalo said earlier, this year's Olympics, or to be official, the games of the 33rd Olympiad, were held in Paris, France. But the mid-century, per our year bracket, saw many Summer Olympic Games. And the first post-war Olympics were held in London, England, and excluded Germany and Japan, the losers of the war.
Yes, I found that a fun fact because history. It's like, you started a war. Sorry, you can't compete in our games.
Yeah, no, you're not.
You can't play with us.
You're not invited. So the 1948 Summer Games, which was the 14th Olympiad, became known as the Austerity Games due to difficult economic climate and rationing due to the aftermath of World War II. The Soviet Union was invited, but chose not to send any athletes. Instead, they just sent spectators to research for the 1952 Games.
Which sounds very Soviet.
Yeah. The USA won the most gold in overall medals, 84 total and 38 gold. Sweden placed second with 44 total and 16 gold. The star performer was this Dutch sprinter named Fanny Blankers-Koen, dubbed the Flying Housewife, after winning 4 gold medals as a 30-year-old mother of 2.
Which makes me feel very achieved. I don't know if that's the right word. Like, I haven't achieved anything in my 30 plus years of life, because not only do I not have 2 kids, but also I don't have 4 gold medals at the same time.
No, you can't do that. Don't think about how old they are and compare it to your life. And they make different choices. I mean, that's the thing. Well, not to tangent too much, but you were saying that you think it would be cool if people just called you up by lottery to compete in the Olympics, whereas I'm thinking back to, ancient Greece. Here we're gonna like dip you in oil and you have to fight to the death kind of thing. Like I think that the Olympics should be the best of everybody. Like, only the greatest compete. Like, that's what the Olympics are. Like, it's the Olympics. It's not the sports.
It's not the Hunger Games.
Yeah, not the Hunger. I don't want you to die competing, but I think it should be the best of the best. And like, this is the best that my country has to offer versus the best that your country has to offer. And like, that's what it's for. It's supposed to be unachievable, except for if you spend your entire life training from a small child.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Anyway, so this Dutch sprinter didn't just wake up one morning as a 30-year-old mother of 2 and decide she was going to go win some gold medals.
True. Okay, yeah, I get that.
That's what anyway. So you can't compare yourself. It's different. Another notable thing that happened was the torch relay was nicknamed the Relay of Peace since it crossed through several countries in Europe to represent their union following World War II, which is very
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah, that's really cool. The next mid-century Olympics games were the 1952 Summer Olympics, or the 15th Olympiad, which were held in Helsinki, Finland. And a fun fact, Helsinki is the northernmost city at which the Summer Olympic Games have been held.
I bet the weather was lovely.
I bet the weather was lovely, yes. The most world records were also broken at these games. It's just something that was not overtaken until the 2008 games in Beijing.
Neat.
Yeah, and there's some new countries that debuted in these games, meaning that the first time they appeared as a country, and there's kind of a pattern here. Okay, a lot of them are communist. So we have the Soviet Union, or the USSR. We have the People's Republic of China, not the Republic of China, because that's something else. The People's Republic of China, the RPC. Hong Kong, Indonesia, Israel, Thailand, and also the Starland, which is not really a country anymore. At the time, for reasons way too long to explain in this episode, it was a French protectorate of German land following World War II. The USSR became a dominant team. They finished second in number of gold and overall medals won, which the USA finished in both of these, which I'm sure were fun bragging rights during the Cold War. The USA had a total of 76 medals, of which 40 were gold, and the Soviet Union had a total of 71 medals, of which 22 were gold. And Eva Perón, celebrated First Lady of Argentina,
I know her.
died in July 1952 during the Olympics, and a memorial was held for the Argentine team.
Aw.
Yeah. There were some political issues there. The Cold War obviously made it hard for the USA and the USSR to compete because both were essentially mad at each other and threw temper tantrums. I mean, that's basically the Cold War in a nutshell, because there's no actual fighting. It's literally just like two toddlers yelling. There was also a threat of canceling the games due to the Korean War, which began in 1950. So, and some notable scandals, really one that I can think of. So before 1971, the Olympics were limited to just amateur athletes. Like, you weren't supposed to be a professional athlete and enter the games. But in 1952, the Soviet Union entered athletes who were all on paper students, soldiers, workers, that kind of stuff. But in reality, they were being paid by the states to train full time, which is violating the rules.
Yeah, of course it was. So next up were the 1956 Summer Olympics, which were the 16th Olympiad, which were held in Melbourne, Australia.
Almost in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Oh.
Because, yeah, they lost the right to host by one vote.
Oh, rats.
Yeah.
So this was the first Olympics held in the Southern Hemisphere, where summer is in December, so the event was held from November 22nd to December 8th. It is also the southernmost city to ever host the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Australia had strict quarantine regulations, so horses could not make it in. So the equestrian events were held in Stockholm during the summertime in June.
Which I feel like that would be really weird. Because, like, the Olympics haven't started yet, because it's June, and the Olympics will be held in November. But let's have the horses run around first.
I mean, I guess that was the best thing, the fairest thing they could think of, because it's not like you could fly to Australia and use an Australian horse that you haven't been training with for years.
No, I get that. But, like, there's multiple countries in the Southern Hemisphere, and I feel like they could have chosen a country where the summer is also in, November, December, and then had the, like, equestrian events happening at the same time as the Olympics.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's just like, it's weird that it was 6 months earlier. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
especially since Argentina was hanging out over there, lost by one vote, and we're like, bring your horses here, like you probably could have done.
Exactly.
But anyway, this time the Soviet Union won the most gold and overall medals. It was 98 total medals and 37 gold. The USA came in second with 74 total medals, 32 gold. The Olympic flame was flown in a Qantas Super Constellation aircraft after being transferred to a miner's lamp.
And I think we should do an episode because the Constellation is a beautiful aircraft. And the fact that someone flew the flame, because the flame for the relay gets lit in Athens. Mm-hmm. And then the whole relay is like moving it from there to wherever the host country is. So they were like, how do we get this overseas? Well, let's just put it on a constellation.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So some scandals, which I'm guessing we have a section of this for all of them. Scandals on every.
Scandals all around.
So Egypt, Iraq, and Cambodia and Lebanon boycotted the games due to the Suez Crisis.
Yes, which I think we should do an episode on.
Perhaps. The Netherlands, Spain, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland boycotted in response to the Soviet invasion of Hungary.
And fun fact about Liechtenstein, they had a war in which they sent like 80 people to, and they returned with like 81. They're like, we made a friend.
The People's Republic of China boycotted because of a dispute between them and the Republic of China over who had the right to represent China. There was a controversial water polo match between the Soviet Union and defending champions Hungary because the Soviet invasion of Hungary. Violence broke out during the match. A Soviet athlete punched a Hungarian athlete. The teams fought, and the spectators fought, and then police got involved, and the result was a canceled match and Hungary being declared winners because they were ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But even with all these issues, once they started, the games ran smoothly and became known as the Friendly Games. This includes a much-publicized romance and eventual marriage between the U.S. hammer-throwing champion Hal Connolly and Czechoslovakian discus-throwing champion Olga Fikotova. Fikotova?
Yes.
Apologies.
I don't know. I don't speak Czech.
Apologies for that butchering that name there.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, that's sweet. I love a romance amongst the sports.
The next games were the 1960 Summer Games, or the 17th Olympiad, which were held in Rome, in Italy. They were originally supposed to host the 1908 games, but because of the 1906 eruption of Mount Vesuvius, the city had to decline, and then London hosted instead. At these games, the Soviet Union won the most gold and most overall medals again, with 103 total medals and 43 gold. And the USA came in second again with 71 total medals, 34 of which were gold. Some of the notable things that happened at this Olympic Games were the 18-year-old Cassius Clay, who you guys may know as Muhammad Ali, won the boxing gold medal and kind of kick-started the career of the greatest. Future King Constantine II, who was also the last king of Greece, won his country a gold medal in sailing. I don't know why I always found it really interesting whenever the royal family of any country competes in the Olympics, because you don't think of them as being like professional athletes, but also like, let's say you win against the king of Greece. You're like, I won against the king of Greece.
It is especially weird because they are supposed to be so apart from the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Like that they just get in there and compete with. But then again, that's the overall message of unity that the Olympics are trying to achieve, where it's like, here's everybody playing games together.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's that's actually nice. But yeah, that's weird, but also sweet.
Yes. Some of the notable things that happened that were not so sweet and nice, though.
Scandals.
Yeah. Well, not before even we get to scandals, the 1960 Summer Games were also the second time that drugs were implicated in the death of an athlete, like during the games. Danish cyclist Nud Jensen collapsed from heat stroke and later died in the hospital. Singapore also competed for the first time under its own flag, having gained independence from Britain in 1951. But we also had some scandals, like scandals. So, yeah, South Africa appeared for the last time under its apartheid regime, not allowed to return until 1992.
No.
A Finnish field shooter shot a bullseye, but at the wrong target. So he dropped, like, that penalty made him drop from second place to fourth place, losing his medal.
Oh, shoot, that sucks.
Yes, I know. But also, how do you do that?
Next up is the 1964 Summer Games, the 18th Olympiad, which was held in Tokyo, Japan, and this was the first Olympics held in Asia. Also the first games to be telecast internationally without the need for tapes to be flown overseas. So it was telecast to the USA through SYNCOM-3, the first geostationary communications satellite, and it was also the first games to have partial color telecast as well.
Yeah.
This one was scheduled for October to avoid the city's midsummer heat and humidity, as well as the September typhoon season. The USA won the most gold, but not overall medals. So it got 90 total and 36 gold. The USSR won most overall with 96, but only had 30 gold medals.
Haha, suck it.
The person who lit the Olympic flame was born on Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945, which was the day that the atomic bomb was dropped on that city. And he was chosen for this to symbolize Japan's post-war reconstruction and peace.
That's cool.
This was the first time that judo and volleyball happened in the Olympics. Japan won the gold. Soviet gymnast Larisa Latinina won 2 gold, 1 silver, 2 bronze, breaking the record for most medals won at 18 years old, which was held until Michael Phelps broke it in 2012.
Yes, Michael Phelps broke many records.
I've heard about that. Didn't he have webbed fingers? Or he probably still does.
Yeah, I don't know about web fingers, but he is an amazing swimmer.
Yeah. Zambia declared its independence the day of the closing ceremony, making it the first country to enter the Olympics as one country and leave as a different one.
Yeah, so they came in as Northern Rhodesia and came out as Zambia.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And the last of the games in the mid-century were the 1968 Summer Games, or the 19th Olympiad, held in Mexico City, Mexico, which happened to be the first time Olympic Games are held in Latin America and the first to be hosted by a Spanish-speaking country.
Neat.
And also the only modern Olympiad Games to be held at a high elevation because Mexico City is really high up there at 7,350 feet above sea level.
Wow.
For comparison, I live in Houston, which my house is at 108 feet above sea level. So, at these games, the USA won the most gold and overall, 107
Woo!
total and 45 gold. And the Soviet Union once again came second with 91 total and 29 gold. Really, we should have measured the winning of the Cold War by Olympic medals. What's really cool, some of the notable things happened, is the Olympic torch relay recreated the route that Christopher Columbus took to the New World. So from Greece through Italy and Spain to San Salvador Island in the Bahamas and then on to Mexico.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. And we also have the first woman to light the Olympic cauldron at the end of the Olympic torch relay, and that is Mexican national Norma Enriqueta Basilio de Sotelo.
Wow.
Some of the scandals of these Olympics at the 200-meter race award ceremony, Black American athletes Tommy Smith, who won gold, and John Carlos, who won bronze, took a stand for civil rights by raising a black gloved fist and wearing black socks instead of shoes. Silver medalist Australian Peter Norman wore a human rights badge in support of them, and the IOC banned both Smith and Carlos for life. We also had the introduction of doping tests, and this resulted in the first disqualification because of doping. Swedish athlete Hans Gunnar Ligenwall was disqualified for alcohol use because allegedly he drank beers, like several beers, prior to competing, which makes no sense to me.
I thought the doping tests were like looking for steroids. Like, why do they care if you drink beer before competing? Because all it's gonna mess up is yourself.
I don't know. And that is the mid-century Olympiads. Lots of scandals.
Lots of scandals. And they've changed. It sounds like the games have changed a lot since then.
Yes. In 1948, there were only 17 different sports and 23 disciplines with 136 medal events.
What's the difference between a sport and a discipline?
So in the Olympics, a discipline is a branch of a sport that includes one or more events. So for example, skiing is a sport, alpine skiing is a discipline, and giant slalom is an event within the sport of alpine skiing. Yeah. So anyway, for comparison, the 2024 Olympics, the ones that just ended, had 45 different sports with 48 disciplines and 329 medal events.
Wow.
So they've grown some.
Yeah, they sure have.
Yes.
So you got some fun facts for us?
I do. So when the ancient Olympics ended, the site of the games at Olympia was abandoned. And with time and natural disasters like earthquakes, the site became ruins. And it stayed as an undiscovered ruins until in 1776, an English traveler named Richard Chandler discovered the site. And today, they exist as archaeological digs.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another fun fact that you research for us. The modern Olympiads, those 4-year periods, started on January 1st in 1896, and they continue even if the Olympic Games are canceled. For example, in 1940 and 1944, the Games were canceled due to World War II, meaning the Games of the 12th and the 13th Olympiads just didn't happen.
Yeah, we went
so they keep counting because it's time. That makes sense.
Yeah, they keep counting. We had the Games of the 11th Olympiad, and then the next one were the Games of the 14th Olympiad.
Cool.
And although these 12th and 13th games were canceled, the first postponement of the games in the 124-year history of the modern Olympics happened during the 32nd Olympiad, which was 2020, and that was due to the COVID-19 pandemic, because they happened in 2021, which is technically the second year of the Olympiad.
Fascinating. So yeah, we just started up again in 2024, like everything was fine.
Yeah, it's just less time between the games.
Neat.
And because Jackie said 2024, we have caught up to the present. So it is time for our etiquette segment. Jackie, what do we have today?
So I decided to find something sporty since I knew we were talking about the Olympics. So this week's etiquette tip is from Emily Post's Etiquette from 1950, which I brought back again because, one, I already did Amy Vanderbilt's sporting etiquette in a previous episode. And two, I finally found some sass. So get excited for Emily Post's Etiquette from Chapter 49, Games and Sports. Most of this, all of this actually is written in her language, so that's why it sounds this way, but enjoy the rules of sportsmanship. So she writes, the quality which perhaps more than any other distinguishes true sportsmanship is the absence of temper. It must not be temper brought along and held in check, but temper securely locked and left at home. The first rule of sportsmanship is never display ill humor. If you can't take sports with grace and good temper, then don't go in for them. Cursing out your faults or your luck, excusing, complaining, protesting against unfairness won't get you anywhere except in the wrong. You win or you lose, that's all there is to it.
That's good.
The second rule, it's always to give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. Nothing is more important to your standing as a sportsman, though it may cost you the point in question. Among the lesser shortcomings of an unsportsmanlike player is his practice of understanding his ability before a match. It is commonplace occurrence to hear from a man who is perfectly satisfied with his skill, "Oh, I'm not much of a player." The motive is not necessarily dishonest, but it is often a show-off impulse to create admiring surprise should he play brilliantly, or to save his face should his game be off. We all know those people.
Yes.
The only time a player may declare himself unskilled is when he really is, and would otherwise be a source of annoyance in a game beyond his class. For instance, a poor player, upon being invited by experts to make the fourth, whether at tennis or golf or bridge, should refuse, saying, "Thank you, but I don't play well enough." If the experts persist, because no other fourth is available, the poor player must say nothing further, either then or later. He does his best, and that's all there is to that, except that he must never himself volunteer to play with them again. If they invite him, he can accept, and because they now know how he plays, he says nothing. And then she sums it up with, sportsmanship can be very well acquired by following a few simple rules. Keep your mind on the game and not on your feelings. If you win, don't at once begin to fancy yourself a star above and apart from everyone else. A gloating winner is far more detested than a bad loser. When you lose, don't sulk or protest, or long-windedly explain. If you are hurt, whether in mind or body, don't nurse your bruises. Get up and get ready for the next encounter. This is playing the game and the only successful way to take life! !
I like that.
I don't know if sass is the right word, but it's a lot of tough love, and eye-rolling is kind of the vibe I get from.
Sometimes you need that.
Yeah, so you're uniquely qualified to judge this, the etiquette of being a proper sportsmanship person, or the etiquette of having proper sportsmanship. So what do you think?
I'm totally behind the whole being good sportsman. Don't sulk if you lose. You win or lose, it's a game. The whole point of sport is game. So like, don't sulk if you lose. That just means that you'll win another time, right? But the one that I liked the most was the whole like, don't say you're unskilled when you really are, because I've played golf with people who, like, I'm not good at golf. Let's just start the story with that. I am not good at golf. and I went playing golf with some friends, and my friend who invited me is like, "Oh yeah, it'll be fun. We're all in the same place." We were not all in the same place. Like, I was miles behind everyone else, and I was so upset the entire time. I was sulking in the car, and he's like, "Why are you so upset?" I'm like, "Because you said that no one knew how to play, and I don't know how to play, and you three know how to play." So.
Yeah. I think that she had a lot in there about being honest about your skill level, which I thought was really refreshing. Because in my minimal sports endeavors, which is whatever we were forced to do in elementary and middle school, there's always people who like say that they're bad at something and are secretly good at that. That actually carried into adulthood with like people who want to play pool at a bar. Mm-hmm. Everyone always says they're bad at pool, but like I'm actually bad at pool. Like the people who are like say they're bad at pool usually like must practice in secret and they're not actually bad. So I feel like that's the kind of person that we meet all the time. And then also the idea about being honest if someone's asking you to play a sport and you know that they're better than you, just being like, hey, I don't want to drag you down. I don't think I'm good enough to play tennis with you guys. And then if they insist, then you just shut up. I love that she basically said that. Just like, they know that you're bad, just shut up and play.
Yeah.
And if they invite you back, go ahead, but don't, like, invite yourself back now. Like, at least we're all on the same level and you never bring up your skills again.
Yeah. Maybe all they want is for you to hang out with them.
Yeah. So. I liked all these tips. I thought it was, with all the sports talk, it's always an interesting insight into a kind of person I don't know anything about, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also agree, and I think we should give them the mid-century stamp of approval.
I agree.
Yeah. So, with that, it looks like we have landed the plane. Thank you all for listening today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the show and tell a friend.
You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. This is the best place to send us feedback and episode suggestions. Send us a DM anytime. You can also find us on YouTube at MCL Podcast, which is the same handle. And before you go, don't forget that you can also contact us through our new fan mail feature. There's now a send us a text message option on each of our episodes, and you can use it to send us notes.
Yes, so send us some fan mail. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye!
Thank you for listening to Mid-Century Living. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at MCL Podcast. See you next Friday.